Almost made some more of my hair fall out talking about you need to get the baby, you need to get the baby, you need to call Blue and tell him to get the baby. I said, what happened? What happened? She said some girls tried to jump Chrisean in Compton and the baby is with her. Can you please tell somebody, can you please get the baby? I call my son and tell him he needs to get the baby. He says I'm not getting involved in none of that.
The internet didn't just wake up mad that morning, it woke up suspicious. Because when Karlissa finally spoke, it wasn't calm, it wasn't soft, and it definitely wasn't accidental. It sounded like the kind of statement that only comes out when something ugly already happened behind the scenes and somebody decided silence wasn't protecting anyone anymore, according to online chatter. Chrisean Rock wasn't just caught in chaos, she was allegedly swallowed by it, jumped streets, phones out, rumors flying faster than facts. And right when everyone was trying to process that mess, another bomb dropped that hit harder than any punch ever could. Baby Junior was taken, not disappeared, not missing. Taken and placed somewhere else. That's when Karlissa stepped forward, not with sympathy tears, not with quiet concern, but with words sharp enough to slice through timelines like a hot blade. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a street incident. This was about protection, responsibility, and a grandmother who seemed ready to draw a line the internet didn't know existed. People stopped asking what happened that night and started asking something much darker. What was bad enough that Karlissa felt justified saying enough? The moment Karlissa opened her mouth, the internet stopped scrolling and started listening. This wasn't a casual response or a vague post meant to calm people down. According to online chatter, it sounded like someone who had been biting her tongue for way too long. The tone wasn't emotional, it was firm, controlled, and sharp enough to cut through weeks of speculation. That alone told people this wasn't about clout or attention. This was about drawing a line that had already been crossed. What instantly caught attention was how the alleged jumping wasn't even the main focus. The streets, the chaos, the rumors, all of that felt like background noise compared to what came next. Karlissa reportedly centered everything around Baby Junior, and that single move changed the entire narrative. Celebrity drama is one thing, but once a child becomes the headline, the internet switches gears fast. Entertainment exits the room and judgment takes its seat. According to how viewers interpreted her words, Karlissa framed the situation as a response to risk, not gossip. She didn't speak like someone reacting to one bad night. She spoke like someone who had been watching warning signs pile up quietly. That distinction mattered more than people realized. It suggested this wasn't sudden, it was inevitable. The alleged incident in Compton became the spark that forced the conversation into the open. Online, people described it as the moment everything collided at once. Fame met the streets, chaos met consequences, and privacy evaporated completely. Whether exaggerated or not, the rumor alone shook confidence in the idea that things were under control. Commentary pages immediately rewound the timeline like they were searching for foreshadowing. Old clips resurfaced, old lives replayed, old moments reinterpreted with new suspicion. Things that once felt chaotic but harmless suddenly looked reckless to critics. The internet loves rewriting history once a scandal hits. Hindsight is its favorite weapon. Karlissa's supporters wasted no time picking sides. They framed her as stepping in where others failed, calling it protection rather than interference. To them, taking Junior wasn't dramatic, it was necessary. They praised her for choosing safety over silence. In their eyes, waiting longer would have been the real irresponsibility. On the opposite side, critics accused her of overreach. They questioned timing, motives, and whether family matters should ever play out publicly. Some suggested she was escalating things instead of calming them. Others argued that speaking out only added gasoline to an already raging fire. The split was instant and vicious. What made her words land harder was the confidence behind them. According to viewers, there was no hesitation, no uncertainty, no maybe. That kind of certainty doesn't come from impulse. It comes from conviction. And conviction scares people more than chaos because it implies preparation. The phrase "why Junior" was started circulating like a headline that refused to settle. Everyone had a theory and none of them matched. Some said it was temporary protection. Others suggested a deeper intervention was already underway. A few went full conspiracy mode, claiming private agreements and emergency plans nobody could confirm. The lack of clarity turned curiosity into obsession. The alleged jumping itself almost faded into symbolism. It wasn't about fists anymore. It was about exposure. To some, it represented vulnerability. To others, danger. To Karlissa's defenders, it was the final warning sign. To Chrisean supporters, it felt like a bad moment being used as ammunition. Sarcasm online was ruthless but uneasy. People joked that this family drama had more plot twists than a prestige TV series. Others said even reality show producers would have cut this scene for being too real. The humor carried tension, not joy. When jokes sound nervous, it means something hit too close. What truly shifted the mood was how serious the language became. Words like stability, environment, and safety started replacing jokes and memes. That's when people realized this wasn't just trending drama. This was a family fracture unfolding in public view. And those never end cleanly. Karlissa's role as Blueface's mom added another layer of discomfort. This wasn't an outsider weighing in. This was family stepping into the spotlight with purpose. Family statements don't come lightly, especially when they involve children. That alone made people pause before firing off takes. Meanwhile, Chrisean's silence loomed over everything like unfinished business. No immediate response, no clarification, no attempt to regain control of the narrative. That absence allowed Karlissa's version to dominate the moment. Silence doesn't stay neutral online, it gets interpreted. Some saw the quiet as shock. Others saw it as strategy. A few took it as confirmation of guilt. Regardless of interpretation, the result was the same. Karlissa's words filled the vacuum and shaped public perception before any counter-narrative could form. By the end of this phase, the story had completely transformed. It was no longer about an alleged street incident. It was about boundaries being enforced publicly, about family stepping in when chaos refuses to slow down. And once that door opened, there was no closing it. Once Karlissa's words hit the timeline, the internet didn't just react, it split. This is the phase where nuance gets deleted and everyone suddenly becomes a prosecutor, a defense attorney, and a family therapist all at once. Commentary pages switched from reporting to performing, and every caption sounded like it was trying to win an award for loudest opinion. Memes flooded in fast. Because humor is the internet's favorite weapon when things feel uncomfortable. People compared the situation to a reality show episode so intense it would have needed a disclaimer. Others joked that this family drama had more plot twists than a season finale nobody saw coming. The laughs weren't joyful, they were nervous, the kind you make when you don't know how else to process tension. Celebrity reactions didn't come with names, but they didn't need to. Subtle posts about protecting children, choosing better environments, and knowing when to step in started popping up. Nobody tagged anyone, but the message was clear enough to spark arguments in every comment section. Vague concern became the new form of shade, and it landed hard. Reaction videos exploded next because nothing fuels engagement like a scandal with no clear answers. Influencers leaned into their cameras with serious faces and dramatic pauses, pretending to break down the truth while clearly enjoying the traffic. Some acted outraged, others sympathetic, but all of them benefited from the confusion. The story kept growing, not because of facts, but because of opinions. The public outrage escalated when people began reframing the situation as a pattern instead of an incident. Old clips resurfaced again, but this time with harsher commentary. Moments that once looked chaotic were now labeled dangerous by critics. The internet loves rewriting narratives once it smells vulnerability, especially when a child is involved. Supporters of Karlissa grew louder, framing her as the only adult willing to act. They argued that stepping in wasn't betrayal, it was protection. To them, taking Junior wasn't dramatic, it was overdue. Their comments read like warnings rather than insults, heavy with the idea that waiting longer would have been irresponsible. On the other side, defenders of Chrisean pushed back aggressively. They accused the internet of exploiting a bad moment and turning it into a moral trial. They argued that rumors were being treated like facts and that judgment came faster than confirmation ever could. To them, this felt like another example of a woman being publicly dismantled for chaos everyone had previously cheered. The debate turned ugly fast. Comment sections became battlegrounds where nobody was listening, just responding. Words like neglect, intervention, and control were thrown around without hesitation. The story stopped being about what actually happened and became about what people believed should have happened. Belief replaced evidence, and that's when things got dangerous. Pop culture comparisons got wilder as the outrage grew. People said this made celebrity custody disputes from the past look polite. Others joked that even scripted drama couldn't stretch this far without losing credibility. The exaggeration kept the story alive, each comparison adding another layer of spectacle to an already bloated narrative. What made this phase explosive was the emotional whiplash. 1 minute people were laughing at memes. The next they were writing long threads about responsibility and trauma. That shift kept everyone engaged because the story refused to settle into one category. It was entertainment and concern fighting for control of the same headline. Industry silence didn't go unnoticed either. No public support, no subtle alignment, no reassurance from familiar faces. People began speculating about private conversations and emergency damage control happening behind closed doors. Whether real or imagined, it reinforced the idea that this situation was bigger than a rumor. Parody accounts blurred the line even more. Fake headlines went viral because people couldn't tell what was satire anymore. That confusion fed the chaos, making everything feel plausible and nothing feel reliable. When satire blends with reality, outrage thrives because nobody knows what to believe. Throughout all of this, Karlissa's words kept echoing. Supporters quoted them like statements of fact. Critics dissected them for hidden motives. Neutral viewers replayed them, searching for tone changes and implications. The internet treated every sentence like a clue in a mystery it was determined to solve. Chrisean's continued silence added fuel instead of calm. Every hour without a response was treated like another twist. Some saw it as restraint, others as avoidance. Either way, it allowed the narrative to grow unchecked, shaped almost entirely by outside voices and speculation. By the end of this phase, the situation had fully transformed into a public referendum. Not just on one night, not just on one decision, but on identity, responsibility, and control. The internet had chosen sides, and once that happens, escalation is inevitable. Once the internet finished screaming, something colder replaced the noise. The jokes slowed down, the memes aged out, and what remained was consequence energy. This is the phase where scandals stop being entertaining and start being expensive. Not just financially, but emotionally, reputationally, and relationally. The vibe shifted from "did you see this" to "this is actually bad." Public perception hardened fast. Even people who once defended Chrisean without hesitation started adding pauses to their support. You could feel it in the comments. Less passion, more caution. When fans stop yelling for you and start whispering excuses, the damage has already moved in and unpacked. Karlissa's position began to look less like a reaction and more like a permanent stance. Whether people agreed or not, the internet interpreted her actions as final, not temporary. That framing mattered. It turned the situation from a family disagreement into a power shift. Once people believe custody decisions are being made, speculation turns ruthless. The conversation around Junior grew heavier and more uncomfortable. This wasn't gossip anymore, it was moral judgment. People started talking about stability, structure, and environment with the confidence of experts who had never stepped inside the situation. The internet loves speaking in absolutes, especially when it feels justified. Every past moment involving Chrisean was dragged back into the spotlight. Clips that once went viral for chaos now resurfaced as evidence. Context disappeared. Nuance evaporated. Everything was reinterpreted through a darker filter, as if the story had always been headed here and nobody wanted to admit it before. Industry silence started to look intentional. No public endorsements, no friendly shoutouts, no subtle reassurance. In celebrity culture, silence is rarely neutral. It signals distance, and distance suggests risk. Brands don't like unpredictability, and unpredictability was now the headline attached to her name. Behind the scenes, speculation intensified. People assumed crisis meetings, emergency planning, and quiet negotiations were happening out of sight. Whether true or not, that assumption reinforced the seriousness of the moment. This didn't feel like something that would blow over in a week. It felt like a turning point. Relationships became collateral damage. Every association was questioned. Who was present? Who was absent? Who enabled? Who intervened too late? The internet doesn't just judge actions, it judges proximity. Being close to chaos is enough to catch blame. Even if you never spoke, Karlissa herself became a polarizing figure. Supporters framed her as the last adult willing to act. Critics accused her of making a private situation public. Both sides believed they were protecting someone. That's what made the conflict so messy. Everyone thought they were right. What made the fallout linger was the lack of clean closure. No definitive explanation. No clear timeline. No single statement that reset the narrative. Ambiguity kept the wound open. Without clarity, suspicion filled the gaps, and suspicion is harder to erase than a lie. Chrisean's eventual responses, when they came, didn't land the way supporters hoped. The internet had already made up its mind about the tone it expected. Anything less than perfect sounded wrong. Anything defensive sounded guilty. Once perception locks in, even truth struggles to get through. The story slowly transformed into a cautionary tale. Not a cancellation, not a comeback, but a warning. Posts framed it as what happens when fame meets unresolved chaos and refuses to slow down. Comparisons to other celebrity spirals surfaced, not as jokes, but as parallels. Even neutral observers admitted something felt different this time. Not louder, not messier, just heavier. The kind of situation that doesn't disappear. It just gets archived. A reference point that resurfaces every time a new headline drops. Eventually, the internet moved on, because it always does. New drama arrived. New names trended. New chaos demanded attention. But this story didn't vanish. It settled into the background, waiting to be dragged back up the next time anything even remotely related surfaced. That's the real consequence. Not losing everything overnight, but carrying a permanent question mark. A shadow that follows every update. A reminder that once family drama crosses into public intervention, it never fully resets. This wasn't the end of the saga. It was a pause. A chapter break before the next development nobody's ready for yet. Because in this world, controversy doesn't fade away. It waits, and when it comes back, the internet will be ready. Phones charged. Opinions loaded. Waiting for the next headline to confirm what they already think they know. And this right here is why celebrity drama never really ends. It just reloads with a new headline. One statement turns into a wildfire. One decision turns into a debate. And suddenly everybody online is acting like they were in the room when it happened. This story didn't trend by accident. It exploded because it hit nerves nobody wants to admit are exposed. If this situation made you pause, rewind, or say nah, this is getting wild, then you're exactly where you're supposed to be. The internet loves chaos, but it feeds on silence, and this story had plenty of both. Every side thinks they're right. Every comment section thinks it's court. And the truth is still playing hide and seek. So go ahead and smash that like button like it owes you money and blocked you on everything. Drop your take in the comments, because this debate is far from finished and the comment section is always messier than the headlines. Subscribe if you want the breakdowns nobody else wants to touch and the stories everybody's whispering about but scared to say out loud. This channel doesn't do clean narratives. We do the uncomfortable ones. The family drama, the street rumors, The moments where fame collides with real life and nobody walks away untouched. Scandals don't slow down here. They line up. And remember, today's rumor becomes tomorrow's explanation. Today's silence becomes next week's statement. The internet never forgets. It just waits. Stay locked in, stay curious, and stay ready. Welcome to Celeb Sync, where the drama stays connected and the chaos never loses signal.